All right, let's talk about Pringles. We all know that iconic can, right? And that super satisfying pop when you open it. But behind that perfectly stacked snack, there's this incredible story of chemistry, engineering, and a mission to solve one of snacking's oldest problems. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret life of a Pringle.
I mean, you've probably thought about it, right? You pull out that first crisp and it's perfect. The one after that? Perfect. How are they not just a can full of crumbs like every other bag of chips? Well, it's not magic, let me tell you. It's all about meticulous design, and it all kicked off with a simple complaint.
Just think about regular potato chips for a second. They're greasy, they're always broken, and the bags feel like they're mostly just air. This was the exact problem that a chemist at Procter & Gamble, a guy named Frederick Bowers, set out to solve way back in 1968. He had this vision for a new kind of chip, one that was uniform, basically unbreakable, and stayed fresh in a really clever package.
So Bauer went on this quest, this mission to create the perfect chip. He wanted to totally revolutionize the snack aisle. The goal was to deliver a consistent, satisfying crunch every single time, from the very first crisp at the top of the can to the very last one at the bottom.
But almost right out of the gate, Pringles had a bit of an identity crisis. You see, because they aren't made from simple slices of potato, they're made from a kind of dough. The FDA stepped in, and in 1975, they made a ruling. Pringles could not be called potato chips. Nope, they had to be called potato crisps. And that little distinction, it's absolutely crucial to understanding how these things are actually made.
So, if they aren't sliced, how do they even begin? Well, the journey does start with actual, real-deal, high-quality potatoes. But before they can become that iconic crisp, they have to be completely, well, deconstructed.
You can kind of think of it as a spa day for spuds. Seriously, they show up at the factory, get a thorough washing, and then they're tumbled in this big abrasive drum to peel off all their skins. After that, they get a quick dip in hot water, that's a process called blanching, before they're diced up into turny little cubes.
Those cubes then get steam cooked at a pretty searing 345 degrees Fahrenheit. Once they're cooked just right, a giant arm churns them all into a super smooth mash. This mash gets spread onto a massive, rotating drum dryer, which basically evaporates all the moisture and creates these incredible, paper-thin, pliable sheets of pure potato.
And here is where we get to the next stage. Those dry potato sheets are ground up into these really fine flakes. This is the exact moment the potato stops being, a potato, and starts its journey to becoming the dough for a Pringle.
And now for a key part of the secret recipe. The final dough is only 42% potato flakes. The rest, the other 58%, is a carefully crafted mix of water, cornstarch, rice flour, and a few other ingredients. This recipe is the secret sauce to their unique texture, and it's exactly why the FDA made them call them crisps.
So this dough, which honestly looks more like wet sand than anything else, gets spread evenly onto a conveyor belt. And it is about to undergo an absolutely incredible amount of pressure.
4 tons. Just let that number sink in for a second. We're talking about the weight of 2 average cars.
A giant roller comes down and applies all 4 tons of that pressure to the dough, pressing it into a perfectly uniform sheet that's just 1 millimeter thick. Then, a rolling cutter stamps out these perfect ovals, and the snack finally starts to look a little familiar.
And here's a fun little insider tidbit for you. Inside the factory, the workers have this playful nickname for these ovals. They don't call them ovals, they call them dovels. It's a neat little quirk in what is otherwise a really highly engineered process.
Okay, now we're at the magic moment. The flat doves are about to be transformed into those curved, crunchy crisps we all recognize. This is where they finally get their signature shape.
And that signature shape? It has a very, very technical name. A hyperbolic paraboloid. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful. It's a complex geometric form that's also known as a saddle shape. But for our purposes, we can just call it what it is, the perfect shape for stacking. This design isn't just for show, it's a serious feat of engineering. The intersecting curves distribute stress across the entire crisp, which makes it surprisingly strong even though it's so thin. It's the whole key to the Pringles concept of a uniform, unbroken snack.
The transformation happens unbelievably fast. As the dovels move into the fryer, a special mold presses them into that hyperbolic paraboloid shape. They get cooked in hot oil at 392 degrees for just 11 seconds. In that tiny window, the shape gets locked in, and they come out perfectly golden brown.
After a quick blast of hot air gets rid of any excess oil, it's seasoning time. And the scale of this operation is just immense. Every single day, the Pringles factory uses over 5,900 pounds of spices.
And all that seasoning goes into creating a pretty wild variety of tastes. There are over 160 distinct Pringles flavors out there across the globe, from the classic sour cream and onion all the way to pizza and, well, way beyond.
So, the crisps are now cooked, they're seasoned, and they have that iconic shape. But the process still isn't over. Getting them into that can is a whole other marvel of modern engineering.
Before they get packaged, they have to face one final, super rigorous test. Flavor experts conduct blind taste tests under this eerie red lighting. Why red light? Well, it completely masks any visual imperfections, forcing the tasters to focus only on taste and texture. And the stakes are high. If a single crisp fails this test, the entire batch it came from gets tossed.
And this is the final genius of that shape. As the approved crisps move down the conveyor belt, that same hyperbolic paraboloid design, the one that gives them their strength, also causes them to naturally fall into these neat, self-aligning stacks, perfectly ready to be slid into the can.
So, the next time you pop open a can of Pringles, just take a second to appreciate it. From the dehydrated potato flakes and the 4 tons of pressure to the hyperbolic paraboloid and the red light taste test, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are you just eating a snack, or are you holding a perfectly engineered piece of industrial art?